At this fucking point, if the cost of living keeps fucking going up, I got something for sale. And just know I'm not talking about shit in this apartment. If they give me one more motherfucking price range, whether it's food, gas, fucking bills, I'm sick of it all. I'm going to be selling it, and I'm not motherfucking playing. Just know that.
Well, for those of us that can't participate, in this sort of economy where you can't sell it because, come on, women don't buy it like that. Or you women that are unwilling to go, let go of your morals and your scruples and do something like that. Let's talk about what you can actually do. Let's have a positive post to give you some actual advice. And it's not all glorious, right? That's the thing. It's not always going to be perfect. It's not going to be great. Some things are just what they are. You're just going to have to sort of deal with it. Like I said, there's no great solution. There's no great thing. There's no great outcome. But you don't really have to sell it, right? Um, you don't have to participate in the oldest profession. What you can do, the first thing I would always suggest is you got to control your expenses, right? I'm a big fan of auditing and setting your budget. That has to be the first thing. Whenever I coach people about or mentor people about getting into real estate, the first thing I was going to say, what's your budget? Not how much you can spend. I'm saying, where is your money coming in, when it's coming out? We said something before in this channel about owning your paycheck. If before your paycheck hits, it's already got promised, it's promised to so many different other creditors or bills, subscriptions, you don't really own it, right? So many other people are going to come in and say hi to your paycheck before it says hi to you, and you're left to sort of make ends meet, sometimes by robbing Peter to pay Paul. So you're going to have to take a look at where you're spending. And I say budget, right, on purpose, because sometimes knowing that, okay, let me cut back on coffee. No, you need to know how much you spend on said coffee. Substitute coffee for whatever vices that you have that you constantly spend money towards. So before we continue and give you more of this advice, guys, continue to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss new uploads. We're still trying to do 2 a day. All right, so outside of just budgeting, right? Okay, you know how to do that. Or if you don't know how to do that, there's plenty other apps that are available for that. You're just going to have to sit down and sometimes, be diligent and plug and play with what you have. Rocket Money is a good one, and sometimes you can. I think they offer, like, you can suggest how much you want to pay a month, like $5, or you can do the old-fashioned way and take out pen and paper. I like digital because I like to see things in my face, and they make sense to me when I see data. I can track it. I like trends. Find whatever nerd savant thing works for you. If you're that type of person, run with that. Just go with that. That's the easiest thing. Like, some people need to track their weight. They need to see it in their hand. They say, okay, I can see the trend, and that makes them reinvigorates them to keep on the back. So whatever you do, you're going to have to stick with it, especially with a budget. Um, so then you're gonna need to the second thing or the next thing in terms of, we're just talking expenses. You got to optimize your house, right? Um, if your rent is too high, right? You one of those people that you needed a 2 bedroom and you have, because you needed a little office that you rarely use. Maybe you need a roommate. Right? Again, I said a lot of it's not going to be glamorous. It's not going to be sexy. It's not going to be things that you want to hear, but there are other extreme options, right? You can eliminate rent altogether and live in a car. There's some young men on the internet doing things like that, and it is wild, it is crazy, and it's actually, you know, it's I'm proud of them, right? I'm proud of them, like, to go that far. Yes, some of them are doing it for silly reasons. Some of them are doing it and dumping everything anything they make into Bitcoin, right? Into cryptocurrency, and they're hoping that'll be the ticket, let them take off. But some of these people, some of these young men have managed to get something like a whole Bitcoin already, right? And right now that's standing at maybe what, $111,000. So could you live in your car for X amount of years where you can eliminate one of the highest monthly expenses is rent? Depends. I think it's easier to do these things when you're younger, for sure. But back to rent, right? If rent is just, it's a killer, right? You can get a roommate. You can, during when it's time to renew, you can try to negotiate. But depending what city you live in, what type of rental market it is, they could tell you personally, oh, kick rocks. The increase is an increase, uh, you know. Or, as you move further out from most metropolitan cities, like the downtown area, rent gets cheaper, your commute gets longer. And if this was back in 2020, 2021, we were all looking and saying, yeah, I'm remote anyway, so I can live wherever I want. But realistically, let's plan for you still having to work where you have to work. You just extended your commute, just living a little further, right? Again, expenses, next one. You got to buy in bulk, right? And again, these are not sexy, right? These are the small things that can help you with the sometimes just a bit bigger, smaller things, but they add up. Costco, Sam's Club, stuff like that. That's where you want to be when you are thinking about something you want. This is aside from your expenses. I'm assuming if you're trying to if you have to make ends meet, you're not looking at high ticket luxury items. You're bare bones right now, right? We all agree you're bare bones right now, right? So then you're not looking at luxury items. Or if there's something you really want, put it in your cart, let it sit there. See how I feel about it tomorrow. And if tomorrow you still want it, see how you feel about it the next day. You still want it, then take it out your cart, right? But you have to start disciplining yourself in that sort of aspect. Some of these things are not that not for you, just not for you right now. I think that's a healthier way to think about it. If you have any type of things with, cash back, any type of credit cards like that, um, this is the caveat how you use it, right? If anything gives you cash back with points or something like that, you're using, say you go in a grocery store and say my Amex Gold gets X amount of points per, and I get to use in a grocery store. Well, I'm going to use that, but before I even leave the store, I already paid it, right? I treat your credit cards as charge cards. If you don't have the cash to pay it, then don't use it. That's it, right? You just want to take advantage of these small little things because these small things add up to slightly smaller things, but over time could be really big things. But if you spend $200, $300 on groceries, immediately pay it off because you're going to use your cash anyway. You're going to hit it with your debit card. Just pay that off immediately. Not an afterpay thing, not a Klarna thing. Pay it off immediately. You want to have you want to zero balance most of your credit cards. And then there's some that, again, I mentioned Rocket Money and Rocket Money. If you're watching this, maybe little sponsorship, right? I mentioned you guys twice already. They can like negotiate on your behalf. They can go in and talk to some of these places and try to lower your bills. I think I did that with AT&T and saved me like $5 a month. I really did it just see if they could do it, and I was surprised they actually made it happen. It took a little bit, but they made it happen. Um, Now we're talking about like going on the offense, right? Now you talk about things like increasing your income, right? Sometimes, and this is I didn't suggest this first because I think it's besides it being obvious, we sometimes look to increase the income, but we don't fix the holes. The ship is still sinking. We're just doing it slower. Right? You're just moving a little faster. You're still going to drown. You're still going to drown, but you just bought yourself some time. So you fix where the money's going out, how you're spending, how you're overspending, and then talk about increasing income. In reality, this looks like two things you're doing simultaneously, right? So there's other things like if you're like me, you like writing, right? You like tutoring, you can, you like coaching. I had a friend that's really good at that. You can go to Fiverr, you go to Upwork, you can do these little freelance gigs. Freelance when people hear freelance or gigs, you hear gig economy, you think DoorDash, you think Uber, right? These things are flooded with people, but the more that are in there, the more that it works. You just have to be cognizant of the wear and tear you might have on your own vehicle doing something like this. It's got to make fiscal sense. Otherwise, you're going to be spinning your wheels and essentially paying to go to work. And I can't think of anything sort of more worse than that. Um, if you already are a content creator, you post on YouTube or TikTok, you can think about taking that seriously. Think about it as a second profession, like as a second job. I wouldn't because if you're in immediate sort of financial peril, that's a long shot, and you might find yourself on TikTok or Instagram, one of those people asking people, "Hey, hit the cash app." I'm trying to, I'm trying to eat. Um, then again, staying on the offense, you might have to do that terrible, awful, no good thing when you go to work and you ask for a raise, right? Especially if you've been killing it, right? And women often suffer from this. They're not as disagreeable as men, so they're not going to go in and sort of here are my accolades. Here's what I've done for this company. Here's why I'm entitled to a raise, and this is why you should be meeting it. Now, depending on your industry, depending on your level of work, you should be very cognizant that this is not the economy to be making outrageous demands. But if you've actually done the work, then you should be absolutely rewarded for that. So we talked about offense, defense. Now we'll talk a little bit about, just sort of investing. You don't, you don't, you don't. And I repeat, you don't want to pull immediately from your retirement, your 401k. You don't want to pull that money out and take the penalty. Or sometimes you're in economic peril, say you're in a shutdown. Um, some retirement accounts will offer you that money penalty free. Now it sounds great; it's penalty free, and you're just paying it back. Now, depending how much you take out, um, not depending how much you take out, any amount you take out is less that's available to run that compound interest race. And it's a race. It's a slow race that has to take time. So the less actual runners you have in that race, because you took some out, you took 50,000 runners out of that race, and should be 200,000, depending where you are in career. And it looks good because you need that money right now. You feel like you need that money right now to maintain your current lifestyle, but your current lifestyle should be taking a back seat in economic uncertainty as we are now. You shouldn't, you should see on the news more people saying young people aren't going out and paying for stuff. You should see more of that because there should be a pullback in times of economic uncertainty. I think I saw an article where they were saying that there's really no real tourism in Tulum right now, and they're trying to find out the reason why. Well, yeah, Tulum is already an expensive place to travel to. Two, it was hyped by influencers on Instagram years ago. Three, in times of economic peril and uncertainty, people stop. They view travel, they view the vacations as a luxury, so they pull back from that. It's a very normal thing to sort of see and expect. But the point is, if you take that many runners out of that long term retirement race, you're going to regret it in a bigger, less recoverable way when you start circling that retirement drain. And it happens a lot quicker than you do. The earlier you can start running this race, the easier you're gonna actually slide into that last lap. I've I'm looking at people who were 10, 15 years my senior, and already they're having to do that math and say, I'm either gonna live on less, I'm either gonna leave the country, um, or I'm gonna have to keep working till I'm 70. And some of those prospects make sense when it's your call. You want to work to 70, that's your call. You want to be able to be the person that says, I've made the decision to do that. Not it was made for me. Um, Likewise, of not wanting to dip into your retirement accounts, you want to still keep that emergency fund, right? Maybe you had emergency fund of 9 months. Maybe you got to pare that down to six because you need the cash. And I want to give you realistic advice, not saying don't do this, don't do that. If emergency happens, that's what it's for. Why we went from a 3 month to a 6 month to a 9 month to maybe some people have a year in terms of emergency funding, it's because the amount of time it used to take you to replace how much you're currently making. If you got fired from your job now and it's a six-figure job, how soon can your skills and resume get you another six-figure job? In the past, right? Now we dropped to six figures, but in the past, say you're a factory worker and you were let go, thinking 70s, 80s, right? Because some of this advice goes back that far. How long would it take you to find another job? Probably 3 months, right? Probably less. Just that's the economy that you were in at the time. As the economy becomes less stable and more specialized, it may take you 6 months. It may take you nine. Right? Some jobs are not coming back. Some fields are not coming back. AI does things too well. Automation does things too well. You no longer need the amount of people you once needed. There's nothing you can say to fix that. That's just what the reality of the situation is. Your field may be, you know, gone. And if you didn't anticipate and see that and have a pivot strategy ready, you're going to be holding the bag, or you're going to be the one looking at that seat when the music stops and you're rushing towards it and five other people are rushing towards that one seat. Odds are not in your favor in that case. uh, the last thing in terms of just sort of protecting your position, is you should learn more about personal finance, right? I think you watching this video to this point is is a good start. I wish I can get my sister in here to actually put on a class, because she's really, I think everyone in my family is good with money, but she teaches it the best. I'm just going to tell you, hey, make more, spend less. She can get into the real nitty gritty. And if I can ever set something up with her and her schedule, I would love to do a little family show. Um, but like I said, you got to learn and understand, more about inflation, compounding, taxes. Um, One, it makes you feel less helpless. Makes you feel like you understand what's happening. When we all make a big deal about Jerome Powell coming on and saying, nah, right? Because Jerome Powell didn't see a shadow and the interest rate is the same, why people feel with the way they do. You should have an idea about what that means, right? So, again, this is getting a little long in the tooth for a video. But guys, if you like this sort of stuff, let me know. And I do enjoy talking about this, and I can get into more of this stuff on, maybe I'll do a live if I have time, maybe tomorrow or in the near future. We can talk more about that stuff, lifestyle, money, relationship stuff. But if you see a video on your screen, the first time we do the full screen, go ahead and click on that. Let me know what your thoughts on those as well. I'll see you in the next one.